Hey there, everybody. In this video, I wanted to talk about how to create the second page that we'll be making. That's called greeting.html. In the previous video, I talked about how to create index and just to establish what that folder is going to look like, website 2. And in this case, what I want to do is I want to be able to have a second page and add an image, some navigation, and a little JavaScript. We'll talk about all of those things in just a moment. So in that video, I talked about creating this, creating a website 2 folder, creating an index page, and getting that to be displayed. May not have done this, so I'm going to delete that one out. There's nothing in there anyway. So for this project, we're going to do a couple things first. One is I need to create a new folder that's going to be called images. There were no pictures that were associated with this index page, so I didn't need it. But now we are. Now we're going to put some pictures on our website. If you wanted to add things to this page, that's fine too. So the first thing that I want to do is add a new folder. So I'm going to go to new folder, and I want to rename this as images. Rename. And make it images lowercase. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to get a picture. Doesn't matter what it is. If you call it a picture and it happens to be a JPEG, then when you copy my code, it's all going to work perfectly, assuming that you put the picture in the right spot. If not, just pay attention to what you want to name it. So if you want to give it a more specific name than that, that's fine. If you get a great picture and it's a PNG or it's a GIF or it's a bitmap or whatever it happens to be, that's fine. You do need to make sure that you understand and recognize, that's what the extension is. So I'm going to get a trail running picture. And here's the one that I want. That's how beautiful is that? So I'm going to right click on this. I hope. Nope. And there it is. Let's see if I can right click on it again. That's annoying. Come on, man. There we go. I'm going to save this picture as, and I'm going to navigate to that images folder. So right now there's nothing in that. It knows, the name is Ireland Eleanor HZ.jpg. I want to keep the .jpg part, but the rest of it I'm going to delete. And I'm just going to call it a picture with a capital P. All right. I'm inside my website folder. That looks great. The name looks good. I know what the extension is, and we're all good. So I'm going to click on save. Great. And I got it. Next thing I'm going to do is here on how to create a greeting page, I'm giving you the source code for this whole page. So if you open up that document, it will walk you through how to create that folder, and all the screenshots are there. But if you scroll down a little bit, here is the source code for this particular file. So I'm going to copy, maybe. I'm going to copy all this. Come on. Fun. It would be great if it just worked the way that I wanted it to. Oops, that was my bad. All right. There we go. So I'm selecting all of this text. We'll talk a little bit about what's happening in there. And when I get to the close HTML at the very bottom of that cell, that table, that row, I'm going to Control C. I'm going to copy that. And now I'm going to open it up in my text editor. So here's the text editor. This is the code that we used for our index page. This is new. And I'm just going to paste in that file, or that code rather. So we'll talk a little bit about what's happening with all of that. in just a moment. But right now, the main thing to note is here is the main one is this guy here. This is the line that we just kind of worried about. Here's a picture tag, an image tag. It's trying to find a folder called images. So this file needs to be saved in a place where right next to a folder that's called images. So I need to make sure that that's in my website too folder is another way of putting it. I saved it as a picture.jpg. I happen to know that that is a JPEG. That's great. If it's not, feel free to change this extension to something else. If you saved it as a picture lowercase or a pic or whatever, that's fine. But you do need to make sure that the name is going to be exactly the same as that file that you just saved to your images folder. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to save it. And just as I did previously, right now it thinks, oh, you are opening up a text file program. You probably want to save this as text. And the answer is, no, I don't. So I'm going to call this greeting.html. All right. And I do want to make sure that I'm in the right folder. So it's in the same directory as my index page. And here is the images folder that exists as well. All right, so that looks good. And now all I got to do is save it. I'm not setting the background to a particular color. I'm not setting it to an image. I'm not doing any of that kind of stuff yet. You can if you'd like. I'll give you a link on how to do that. The color thing is on the index page. You can just look at your source code there if you wanted to do that. Notice here that what I also included was a link that goes back to your index page. All right, and the way that this works is that I surround the text that I want to be the link, return to my homepage. That's what's the link. I surround that with an anchor tag, this angle bracket A space href. Then I got to identify inside quotes, where do I want that this link to go to? I want it to go to my index page. It's called index.html. Locally, it probably will work if you capitalize one but not the other, but I wouldn't recommend that. I don't know how a Chromebook is going to work on that one. Notice too that I got to say this is where my tag is going to stop. If I forgot to include this, then the entire the rest of my web page would be one big fat link that would go to my index page. So if you want to modify that to say something else, feel free. If you want the whole sentence to be a link, great. Don't be the guy that just says, oh, I'm just going to have this one period be the link. That's annoying. The other thing that I'm doing is I'm setting the width of my picture to be 200 pixels. Depending on your picture, you can decide to make that bigger or smaller. There's some other stuff that's happening. We'll talk about that in a moment. It's called index.html. Save. Looks like all that went down. That looks great. I can then take a look and see, did that actually go down? Oh, sure enough. So here's my index page, did that previously. Here is my greeting page. And if I click on that, sure enough, 200 pixels is a pretty small image. And I got a little navigation here that is going back to my, my index page. There's no link on this. And I'm going to ask you to create one. And kind of a boring title. All right, so we'll work on the code here for this guy in just a second. But start right now. Just make sure that the image looks the way that you want it. If you decide, hey, you know what, that's pretty small, I'd like a bigger picture, well, then increase the size of the pixels from 200 to 400 or some other value. Save it. Come back here, hit refresh. Now it's 400 pixels. What I'd also like you to do is if I click on my index page, there's no way of getting to my greeting page. So what I want to do now is I want to be able to edit this page here so that there's a link on my main page that's going to go to my greeting page. So I'm going to go to my text editor. I'm going to open and navigate for my index page. And all I do is I say hello there. That's not really all that spectacular. So I'm going to delete hello there and say, click here for a greeting. Right now, it would just say that, and it's not a link. Similar to what we have on that on our greeting page, there's that we surround the text that we want to be the link with an a space href. So I'm going to do the same thing here. Angle bracket a space href equals quote, some mystery, I don't know what, close quote, close angle bracket. So there's the start of my angle, my link, and this is where I want that link to stop. That's angle bracket /a. Not quite sure why we tabbed over, but whatever. So there we go. So this is not going to be real happy. It doesn't know what those question mark is, but I've surrounded some text for a greeting to be the link. Click here is not. And the next step is, what do I want? Where do I want this link to go? I want it to go to my greeting page, my greeting.html page. So I'm going to replace everything in between that open and close and write greeting.html. That looks good. I know for a fact that both of these files, greeting and index, are in the same spot. Make sure your spelling and typing is correct. That all looks good. So I'm going to save my index page again. And now when I refresh, there is a very nice little link here. Notice it's purple because I've already been to my greeting page. And I've got a little navigation that goes back and forth between these two pages. All right, so that's enough for that. We'll talk a little bit about this button here in just a second, but hopefully that all makes sense.